Okay, I just wanted to show off a few more jailbreak apps and tweaks. Just going to kind of go over some of my favorite ones. So here's kind of a rundown. I'm just in my settings panel right now. These are all the jailbreaks that I have installed. If there's any of these that maybe you want to know more about that I'm not covering right now, you could just go ahead and hit me up on Twitter. And I could do up a quick video for them. Anything that has demand would help, so I kind of know what you guys are looking to see. Apart from that, I'll just kind of go over some of the ones that I like, some of the reasons that I like having a jailbroken device. I'll start with Accelerate. So you may notice that, like, as I'm moving around, all my menus are kind of really snappy, like everything just kind of snaps really quickly. That's Accelerate that's doing that. So you can see here, you can change it. I'll go up to warp speed, and you'll see all the animations are super, super fast. And then we can go way down to the other side, and we can switch it over to grass growing, and you'll kind of see it just slows everything down to the point where your device would be really annoying to use. So I usually leave it somewhere around Ferrari's usually where I have it, somewhere in that area. So you can see you have like grass growing, a very lazy cat, Homer Simpson exceedingly slow. Then you work all your way up to warp speed. I'm usually somewhere around Ferrari or Impulse Drive. I keep it around one of those two settings. You can kind of change some stuff here, like disable Accelerate in, so it'll turn it off during certain animations. This has been a little bit hit or miss for me. Like icon editing switcher, for example. So if I flip out here, and let's see if we can get into it. We go into icon editing. You can see there it's working pretty good this time. I find that even with that on, sometimes the icons just start jiggling super, super fast. Even though they shouldn't with it enabled. So you may have to play around with that a little bit. I'm going to leave it off because I want to show you a different tweak that I have. That's very, very basic. Just looks kind of neat. Let's see. Yeah, I don't even think it shows up really. You can pretty much only see it through Cydia. Let's go have a look at Cydia here. So if you notice that my icon switcher looks a little bit different, I'll explain why that is. That's pretty much my favorite current jailbreak tweak, I think. So right here, TVLocker. So it's a very small little tweak. And here's all it does. Again, really, really minimal. It just makes it look like a tube TV when you're locking your device. So it just kind of plays like an old style animation like a tube TV would play. It's free. Again, really small, quick download. Just kind of adds a little bit to it. I'm hoping that Accelerator is going to get updated at some point because right now, with Accelerator on, it plays the animation so fast that you can hardly see it. So if I go like that, you can see it. It just locks it so quickly that you hardly see it. So I'd like to see an option in Accelerator to kind of turn it off for your lock animation. Maybe that's something the developer could add in the future. I don't really know. The next one we'll look at is Auxo. And this is the one that I was just talking about for the icons there. You might notice they're sort of like cards instead of just the app icons. So there's a pretty good user guide. I'm not going to bother reading through it, but if you do buy the app, you can kind of go through and see that there's a lot of information on how to use it and stuff. But it's fairly straightforward. So with Auxo, whenever you go into your multitask switcher here, you can see all the different apps that are running. So for example, I have Twitter, App Store, iFile, Cydia. So I could take App Store if I don't need that, and then, oh, I held too long. I'll show you this way. So you can just take it and swipe down like that, and that just terminates the app. So you just swipe it off the screen like that to close it instead of having to hold until they wiggle and then hitting the X's on them. So that's really convenient. You can do 2 at a time. There you go. So you can do 2 at once, or you can tap and hold, and then it'll ask if you want to remove all the apps from the multitasking tray. So you could say yes and then just remove everything. Hoping that didn't kill my video. I guess I'll find out in a few minutes. Presuming everything's okay, I'll show you the rest of what you can do with Auxo. So if you slide over this way, you can see that it has your music player. So basically you can just hit play. You have all your track control, like your back and forward, and your volume adjust if you kind of slide it up. You have your album artwork, which is now high res. When it first came out, it was lower res, so they've updated, put some higher res artwork on it. Looks pretty nice. And if you slide over one more time from the music app here, you'll see that we have different toggles. So you have like your Wi-Fi toggle, one for your flashlight, that kind of thing. So that'll turn my Wi-Fi off. You'll see the Wi-Fi symbol's now missing up by the Space Invaders logo. So turn it back on. And it should pop back up here. There we go. So if you can go up or down, you can notice in the left here we have a little dot to indicate that we have 3 different tiers of icons. So we have our volume control, device vibration, hotspot, airplane, location services, 3G, Bluetooth, respring. Fairly standard as far as controls go, SB settings, NC settings, that kind of stuff. That would all have about the same thing, but there you have it. Just some extra stuff that Auxo has. Again, probably my favorite app currently. So here's some more configuration. You can do 5 toggles per row. Toggles page first, so that'll just bring you to toggles instead of the music app when you slide left or right, depending how you want to look at it, I guess. I prefer to just kind of leave it at its default there. I think that's fine. Visible toggles is pretty much what you think it is. Like, it's just the toggles you can see. You can rearrange their order. The thing that's kind of weird about visible toggles, though, is you always have to have one of the toggles hidden. And I'll show you what I mean. If you scroll down, VPN, for example, has to be hidden. Like, I couldn't have that on if I wanted that on as well. It always forces it to be hidden. So I think it's more of a visual thing to kind of show you how, like, just to kind of show you how to separate them. But again, a little bit weird. I don't need VPN, so I'm fine with it off. I could pretty much throw Bluetooth in there as well, to be honest. I don't really use either. But there you have it. You have to have one of those in there. And the last thing you can do under configuration here, you can ask on remove all, which I recommend turning on so you don't accidentally close everything. You could have certain apps set to remain open after you do a close all. So, for example, if you really needed Angry Birds all the time, you never want to close out of it, you could leave that on. Not really much reason to do that, but that's about it. You can have it ask you about closing whatever's playing, like whatever you have for music. If you had like Downcast or something for a podcast, like something that normally plays audio in the background, you could have it leave that active as well. So that's Auxo. So let's see. So we'll have a look at Barrel now. So you can see whenever I move through my pages, it's just giving me an animation. So right now it kind of looks like we're inside a cube, sort of in effect. All the icons look like we're, like the way they move through, it's like we're in a cube. And that's Barrel. So it's pretty basic. It's just a visual effect. That's all the app is. And you can just do different effects. So this is with it off. This is the normal iOS app switching, or icon switching, I should say. Then we can do things like curl and roll away. This is one of my favorite animations that it does. I've gotten into the cube lately, but this is the one I used to use all the time, was curl and roll away. You can do a whole bunch of different ones. So I'll show you page squeeze. I don't know, I'm not too big on that one, but whatever. It's one of the many, many options inside Barrel. Pac-Man, this one's kind of cool. It's a little bit like curl and roll away, but it sort of bunches them up so it looks like a Pac-Man. So that's kind of neat. And again, I'll just leave it on cube inside. That's kind of my jam lately. So I've been using that one a lot. You can do a folder enhancer fix if you have the folder enhancer tweak. I don't have it, haven't really used it, so can't really comment too much on it, but I guess it would just kind of fix that up for you. And then show the barrel icon on or off. I just leave it off since it's right in settings anyway. I don't need the extra icon for it, but if you want it, there's an option for it. There's an option for it. So now we'll have a little look at Browser Changer. So a lot of people are installing, I think it's just Map Changer or Maps Changer, Maps Enhance or something like that. Browser Changer has a tweak for maps as well as browser. So what you can do is you can just tell it what to open as your default browser. So when an app or a link or whatever says open in Safari, with this you can set Chrome, Dolphin, whatever you want as your default browser, Opera Mini. It doesn't really matter. Any of these browsers, there's more browsers than I've even heard of listed in here. So you can just choose one of those. So in my case, I like Chrome. So I have it set to Chrome. So now anything that says open in Safari, it'll actually just launch Chrome. So you can see we can turn it on. So enable the changer for browsers and then maps as well. So you don't need to install the separate tweak for maps. If you want this, that is. If you only want maps, then that's fine. You can get, I think it's Maps Enhancer, I want to say. we'll just kind of show you how to do that. Or we'll allow you to just do maps, I should say. And again, you can donate with PayPal if you like the tweak. It's free to download and use. So it's always good to think about donating. A lot of the guys that make these tweaks, the guys and gals that work on these, they're pretty complicated stuff. So always good to support them if you can. Now, f.lux, this one I kind of talked about before. It just changes the light of the screen, like the coloring on the screen, so it's easier on your eyes during the nighttime, I should say. So whenever the sun goes down, it slowly makes your screen go to kind of more of an orange-hued color, so it warms it up in terms of color temperature, and then cools it back down during the morning once the sun comes back out. So it just makes it easier on your eyes at night. Again, for me, this is one of those really, really big tweaks that I like a lot, and it's one of the reasons I really like to jailbreak my device. It's really annoying that Microsoft won't allow this in the App Store. I really don't see the harm in it, but I guess it's just they don't want anything that can change the color of the screen so people would think something's wrong with their phone, that kind of thing, probably more than anything else. But I usually leave it on incandescent for the night. Candle I find a little too warm. And then fluorescent just kind of, it's way, way too bright for at night. You can't see this in the video, but I assure you it's actually changing the color as I tap on it. So, and then you can do long transitions. That just makes it so whenever it's kicking in, it'll do it gradually rather than just all at once. If that's off, it just kind of kicks on all at once. And then you can disable it. So if you have f.lux installed, it's kind of, as the sun goes down, it turns on automatically. But if you're doing something that you don't want your screen to be orange, like maybe you're playing a game and you kind of want the colors to be a little more realistic or what have you, you can turn it off temporarily just by going into the settings for it. Alright, now Infinifolders. This is the one that I really, really miss. Like when I had to go between iOS 5.1 all the way up to 6.1 without a jailbreak, this is the thing I missed the most, hands down. It's a very, very simple tweak. All it does is it allows you to put more than 12 icons into a folder. For me, this is just one of those weird Apple limitations. Like, I kind of see where they're coming from. It does seem to slow opening the folder down a little bit. But at the same time, it just seems like they should be able to figure out how to put more than 12 icons into a folder. Like, I just don't see why I have to have that artificial limitation put on it. So as you can see with this, if there's more than 12 icons, you just tap and you can scroll down. And that's basically all there is to it. So it just allows you to put a lot of icons in there. So I tend to kind of sort my apps by category. Like, this is just kind of hodgepodge of stuff. It's just the apps that I tend to use a lot or frequently will go to. That kind of stuff. So I like to have them in a very easy to access spot. So I just put them all in one folder. But photography, I have a lot of photo apps, like a ton of them. A lot of them I've downloaded, I plan on using them or I just want to test them out. Some of them I haven't gotten to yet. You'll see they still have new on them, that sort of thing. But there's a lot of stuff in there. And I really don't see the need of having 3 or 4 photography folders just to, when I could just have one folder with all the apps in it. It's a lot nicer. It's a lot tidier. It's easier on the eyes. All things that Apple are usually into, so a little bit weird that you can't just have more than the predefined amount of icons in a folder. Especially since on an iPad it lets you put more in the folder because you have more screen real estate. So I'm guessing it's the scrolling they're not liking, but either way, you can do vertical scrolling on. I've never really turned that off, to be honest, so I'm not quite sure what it would do. Scrolling bounce, that's just the animation when you get to the bottom, the scroll bar on the right-hand side. And then vertical paging, so that just kind of will force like an artificial page. So each set of 12 icons becomes its own page. So as you scroll down, it'll automatically kind of snap up and show you the next 12. And as you scroll down further, it'll snap up and show you the next 12. Alright, so that kind of locked it up for a second, but should be okay now, and vertical paging should be enabled. So we'll try and have a look here. It's running a little bit slow. I'm going to turn it off again after this. So you can see it just kind of goes down a page at a time. Like if I tried to stop in between, it'll snap me up or down, wherever. So I can see the benefits to it, just not something I want. I just leave it off. And we'll see a bit of slowdown again. That's one thing with the jailbreak being so new is a lot of apps are still kind of in the process of getting updated and stuff. There's a lot of bugs that are coming up for 6.1 now that so many people are on it and using it. They're starting to find more bugs and things that aren't compatible. So all that seems to be getting patched pretty quickly by most devs, though, which is nice. It's good to see. And another reason that you should definitely pay for these apps, all the ones that are pay, like Infinifolders, $1.99 or $2.99, I forget which. I think $1.99, worth every penny in my opinion. Definitely something you should consider buying if you can. Next is Nitros. This is just on. I'd kind of mentioned in my Cydia video that I did. It has like a kind of like suggested apps and stuff when you first go into it. Nitros is one of the ones that's usually in the suggested section. What it does is it allows different apps to take, I believe the engine's called the Nitro engine. It's what the Apple apps are allowed to use, like Safari and stuff like that. But Apple limits that to first-party apps, so it's like stuff that they make. But third-party apps, for the most part, aren't allowed to use that, so they run a little bit slower just because of that. With Nitro, all you have to do is install it. There's only on or off, and once you turn it on, it allows non-Apple apps to use that to get access to that. So it automatically just kind of makes those apps a little bit faster and snappier. So very, very minimal tweak. There's nothing to it. It's either on or off, and it just makes stuff a lot faster. So yeah, here it is right here. And so I guess that one's 99 cents, but definitely worth it. Again, it tends to speed things up. So compatible with iOS 4.3 through 6. Unlock the Nitro JavaScript engine to give your apps a speed boost. So normally Nitro is only available to Apple apps such as Safari and iBooks. Nitros lets you grant this access to other apps. Nitro dramatically improves JavaScript performance in WebKit-heavy applications like Chrome and Facebook. So you can see that it just kind of makes things a lot snappier. And you can see here too, they do the, I forget the name of the test now, but you can see before and after results and stuff, so you can actually see that it is making a difference. So it just kind of improves the performance of Java-based apps. So good little tweak to have, only $1. And again, pretty much nothing to configure. You just have to go into your settings and turn it on. The last two that I'll kind of show you guys, one's called StartDial. This I just kind of stumbled upon by myself. I hadn't really heard about it beforehand. I don't really know where I saw it, but it basically you can turn it on and then say start with keypad. So this is for your phone. Whenever you launch the phone app, it'll bring it over to the keypad. So like for example, if you went into, let's say, favorites, I don't have any, but if I was in favorites and I go back into phone, bam, it brings up the keypad again. So pretty useful. Like typically I'm only launching phone if I need to make a call. I'm rarely going into contacts or anything like that. So I prefer to actually have it bring up the dialer for me, since that's what I need to use anyway. So that's pretty much it. You can have it go into favorites, contacts, or recents, whichever you normally want. So if for whatever reason you normally use contacts, let's say you launch phone to get into contacts, that's fine. You can just turn it on contacts. And that's pretty much it. It's enabled. You can check recents. Automatically start the phone app with the recents tab if you've missed a call. So that can be kind of useful if you want to go in and don't want to have to hit over on recent. Again, I don't use my phone all that often, mainly just if I'm going to, I tend to taxi in and out of work, so I usually use it to call a taxi to come home or something like that, if at all. So it's pretty much the only time I really need it, and I just wanted to bring up my phone. I hardly have any friends that use phones nowadays, so I don't have too many missed calls. The last one that I'll show you is Zeppelin. I kind of talked about this in my Cydia video. I've installed a lot of the other add-ons you can get for it, just different icons, but all it does, it just replaces your carrier logo. So if I turn it off, I don't know if it's going to come back without me having to like respring, probably not. So when it's, actually I think I might have it off in SB settings, but what it would, normally you'd see my carrier logo here, right? It's like the name of the company I'm with, up where the Space Invader symbol is, up at the top, right up here. So with Zeppelin, you can throw in an icon on there. So here's the default one. So they have an Abstergo logo from Assassin's Creed, Android, Aperture Science, Apple, and you can kind of see them up there. The Autobots logo, that one looks pretty awesome. Nike logo, and you can do no logo. Pac-Man, there's a lot of different things that'll do the no logo for you. Just a lot of different cool ones. The Stormtrooper one looks pretty good. The Superman one actually shows up in color, which is kind of cool. But for whatever reason, I really like the Space Invaders one. Judging from a lot of the themes I'm seeing, I think a lot of people seem to like that one the most for whatever reason. But there you go. So very straightforward, very easy to use Zeppelin. And yeah, so those are some of my favorite Cydia tweaks. So again, there's some more in here. If anyone's curious about any of these, or they kind of want to know what they are, what they do, you can always just hit me up on Twitter or leave a comment. I can try to explain some of the other ones, or if there's any apps that you're really curious about, I could always check them out and try to do a video on them as well. That's basically it. I guess the last thing I'll show you is just how to get something off Cydia. I kind of mentioned it, but I don't know if I showed exactly where the install button is last time. So once you're in Cydia, like let's say you wanted to get, I don't know, let's say Infinifolders. So we'd find Infinifolders here. And what'll normally happen is it's going to come up, and right here, where I have the package officially purchased, it's going to pop up and it's going to say that this is a paid app. So up at the top, where I have Modify, you'll have a button that says Buy. So you tap on Buy, it'll ask you to sign in with your Google account. I think you can sign in with Facebook as well. And that's just to authenticate you into Cydia. It doesn't have anything to do with the actual purchase, really. It's just kind of what it associates with. So for me, I'll sign in with my Google account, and then you can pay with either Amazon payments or with PayPal. So I use PayPal, you buy it. Once you buy it, you'll get a message saying that it's been successfully, your purchase is successfully completed. You click on Close, and then you're going to get to, it'll rescan, it'll tell you it's officially purchased, and then you have an install where I have Modify. So let's see, we'll just kind of see if I can, trying to think of a tweak that I don't have that would be free. Let's see, Maps Enhancer. So Maps Enhancer is very, very similar to the browser enhancer I showed earlier. It just allows you to open maps in Google Maps. So I have that as part of my browser enhancer anyway. But if I wanted to install this, all I'd have to do is click on Install. And then it'll tell me it's going to download 13.2 kilobytes, and then it's going to install Maps Enhancer. You just hit confirm, and then that does everything else for you. That'll download it and then ask you to respring when it's done. Certain things you won't have to respring, like apps for the most part you don't have to respring. Tweaks you usually do. So like an app would be something like the Wi-Fi finder that I had, that I showed you guys earlier. Right here, so when that installed, pretty much no respring required. It just installs like any other app would if you're buying it like from iTunes or something like that. It installs and then you're done. And that's pretty much it. So that's again just kind of how to install these tweaks. And I'll try to make a list of them and maybe link up to the timestamps when I talked about them. But yeah, if anyone has any comments, any suggestions, you can always hit me up on Twitter. That should be linked up on the side. And you can just leave a comment. So thanks.